Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to go over some of the main ideas from Unit 2.6. In this unit we talked about measures of central tendency, specifically mean, median, and mode. So let me just remind you about those definitions. You do need to know how to calculate the mean, the median, and the mode of a data set. For the mean, you're going to add up all of the values in the data set and then divide by the number of values. However many numbers you have is what you'll divide by. For the median, the most important thing is that you first arrange the data in order from least to greatest. So if your data set is not in order, you have to do that first. If your data set has an odd number of values, then there will be exactly one in the center, and you just want to locate that one. If the data set has an even number of values, then you'll have two in the center. So you'll take those two and then find the mean of them. The last measure of central tendency is the mode. The mode is just the value or values that occur the most often. Let's take a look at the example on the screen. We're going to find the mean, median, and mode of the set 81, 99, 70, 65, 85, 70, 70, 81. This is an unordered set, so when we look at the median, we'll have to make sure we put the data values in order. For the mean, it doesn't have to be in order because the first thing we're going to do is add up all of the values. As I'm showing that in parentheses here, I'm adding up. I want to make sure I add up first before I divide. So either do the entire addition first in your calculator, press equals or enter, and then do your division. If you want to type everything in all at once in your calculator, make sure you put the addition in parentheses. So I'm adding up all the values together before I divide by 8. When I add them together, I have 621, and then when I divide by 8, I have 77.625. So I did not round this number at all. That is the exact mean, but you might be asked to maybe round it to the nearest tenth, and if it were rounded to the nearest tenth, it would be 77.6. Another word for the mean is average. So if you're asked to find the average of something, that means to find the mean. Now to find the median of this data set, I have to first put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So I have them in order here. Make sure that when you put them in order that you haven't skipped any. So if you're writing things down, you might want to cross them off as you do them and then just count up to make sure you have the same number that you started with. So I counted what I have here, and I do see that I have 8, and I made sure that I had them all listed. Now, since this is an even number of data, right, there are 8 values here. There's not one in the center. The center is right here between 70 and 81. So in order for me to find that value, I can take the two values in the center, 70 and 81, and I'm going to find the average of them. So I have that over here, 70 plus 81 divided by 2, because there are 2 of them. Again, I'm just working on these two numbers now. So add those together first to get a sum of 151, then divide by 2, and I have 75.5. The median should not be rounded. Finally, for the mode is just the one that occurs the most. Sometimes it's helpful to have your data set in order to help you see that, especially if it's a large data set, but it's not necessary. But if I do look at my data set as it is in order, I do see that I have the number 70 repeated 3 times and the number 81 repeated twice. Now the mode has to repeat the most. So in this case, since 70 is repeated 3 times, that is the mode. Since 81 is only repeated twice, it is not the mode. You could have more than one mode if both values occur the most and occur an equal number of times. Now, some other things that you should know kind of based off of the definitions and some of the examples in the exercises I think will help to strengthen these characteristics, but you should really kind of think about these and make sure you understand them. So for the mean, it's important to know that the mean uses all the data in the set. So we use all of them, we add them all up, and then divide by how many. The mean might not necessarily be exactly in the center of the data set, but it should feel like it's somewhere in the middle. The mean can be affected by a really large or a really small value. So if you have a really big number compared to the rest of the data, the mean might be pulled up and be a little bit larger than, let's say, the median of that set. Likewise, if you have a really tiny value, like a 0 in your data set, that's going to really pull and affect the mean and make it smaller than the median would be. Now, what's really important is that the mean cannot be bigger than all of the values in the set, nor can it be less than all of the values in the set. So there's going to be some of them higher and some of them lower, but it might not be half and half. So for another example, if the mean of 10 values is 55, then the sum of those 10 values is 10 times 55, which is 550. So we use this idea when you had to create your own data set and you wanted a data set that had a mean of 4,100 and you were told that you had to have 5 values. So one strategy is if you saw that when you multiplied the 5 times the 4,100, you got 20,500. So you just needed to find any 5 numbers that would add up to that. So if we wanted to find a data set that had the mean of 55 and we knew that we had to have 10 places to fill, we could just find 10 numbers that add up to 550. And now for the median. The median only looks at the 1 or the 2 values in the center of the ordered data set, so it really just relies on that 1 or those 2. Now half of the numbers are positioned to the left or right of the median, but that does not necessarily mean that exactly half are smaller and that half are larger. If we go back to the example here, the data set here is in order. The median we said is 75.5. In this case, half of the values are smaller and half of them are larger, but it depends on that data set. If I had taken out one of these values, let's say I had taken out the 99, let me kind of just do that here. So let's say I have a data set that is just these values. Let's put that here with this example. And I'll unhighlight these because they are no longer both in the center. All right, so if this is my data set in order from least to greatest, the median is now 70 because that's the one value that's in the center. This data set now has 7 values instead of 8 because I deleted 1. So now this is the median. I have 3 values that are positioned to the left and 3 values that are positioned to the right. But if I look at the values that are positioned to the left, they're not all smaller than the median. Some of them are actually equal to the median. If I look at the values positioned on the right, they happen to all be larger than the median, but that's not always true. Some of them could be the same as the median. So that brings us to the last characteristic. If a median of 15 numbers is 9, so if you have 15 values, 15 spots, and the one right in the center is 9, then 7 of the values are less than or equal to 9. So they could be equal to the median. And the other 7 are greater than or equal to 9. Right? So you could come up with a data set kind of similar to what you see here. Instead of 7 values, 15 values at 15 spots. Put 9 right in the center. You can fill in whatever you want on either side, to the left or to the right, as long as they are in order and that the ones on the right left-hand side are less than or equal to 9 and the other side are greater than or equal to 9. And again, in the unit, in the collaboration, you created a data set of 6 values that had a particular median, and it's possible that you put maybe 2 or more values that were the same in that set. All right, finally, the mode. There could be more than one mode. Like I said, if the values appear the same number of times, we could have 2 modes, which would make it bimodal, or more, which would make it multimodal. But if there are no values repeated at all, then we say that there is no mode. Remember, we don't put 0, we say no mode. What's also important is that the mode is not necessarily in the center. The mode can be the smallest value. It just has to be repeated the most often. Right, so things to remember for the assessment: you do need to know how to calculate mean, median, and mode, and you will be asked some questions kind of along the lines of what you see in these bullets here. So, take a look at these and take a look at the exercises for some additional examples.